What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 5 of the Buffalo TalkCenter podcast. I am Cal, no Don today on the podcast, but we do have former NFL veteran and former Buffalo Bill Frank Summers with us. Frank, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Pretty darn good. Let's start with Buffalo sports because we always start with Buffalo sports on this podcast. Of course, you are a former Buffalo Bill, 2013 and 2014. I got to ask you a heater question to start off. What is your favorite moment as an NFL player? Your favorite play, maybe favorite game, looking back on your career?
That's the easy one. I'd have to say my first touchdown in the NFL, which happened to be against the Jets at Orchard Park.
Yeah, I remember those drought days, and again, you were a highlight. For me personally, I've always been a big fan of the fullback position. I know you mixed up a little bit of running back, a little bit of fullback. Now in the current game of the NFL, we're kind of seeing the transition out of the fullbacks. Do you still keep up with the NFL? Do you still watch religiously? And how do you think the game has changed? Would you like to see a little bit more fullback action?
I do still keep up with the game. I'm a fan of the game. I love the game. I still have the passion for the game. And it's unfortunate that the fullback has kind of been weeded out throughout the years. Even during my time, it probably was a handful of fullbacks in the league. But yeah, like you said, that's where the game is going. Much smaller players. Some would say, faster. But also, with the offenses being spread, more receivers, more tight ends, there's no place for a fullback on the field. So it really sucks. Hopefully in the next handful of years they start to bring the fullback back because, during the wintertime, cold, rainy games, the fullback comes into play.
Absolutely, yeah. There's nothing I like more than just some crunching on the line there. We've seen a lot of controversy over the tush push in the NFL, and that's kind of the closest thing we see to it, right? Where everyone lines up, bunches up for that 1 yard, you send a quarterback in. Of course, here in Buffalo, we got Josh Allen, a little bit spoiled, but the Bills are actually one of the teams looking to ban the tush push. Would you like to see the tush push banned, and maybe that sparks back the need for a fullback or a power back?
No, I wouldn't like to see it banned. I mean, that's what football is. It's physicality. It's, man on man, trying to see who could remove the other from the spot. So it kind of sucks that they actually want to ban it. But again, that's another place where football has gone as a game, kind of more on the softer side.
Yeah.
You've already had all the rules being thrown in with, protecting the quarterback and the players and the offense. And so, I would say if there was one area that I was really disappointed in and sad about the game of football, it's that it's gone away from the more physical style of play.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I sit here and again, I watch every game. I got to do a little post game report, got to do the videos about it. And the referees drive me nuts. And I'm sure they drive you nuts too with the soft calls, right? It's roughing the passer. You get these, chop blocks, all this sort of stuff. And it's like you barely touched them. I truly do get upset with the direction of the game. And like you said, there's ebbs and flows, and the game kind of comes full circle. We saw an era of running, and now running backs, don't get paid that much. Hopefully, Saquon Barkley changed that narrative. Of course, winning the
Yeah.
Super Bowl with the Eagles. As a fan of the game and running backs, I mean, watching last year, who are some of your favorite running backs in the league right now to watch and kind of admire?
Yeah, I've always been a big back guy since I'm a big back myself, but obviously Saquon is a great talent. I would have to say probably at the top of my list right now is Derrick Henry. He's
Oh
been
yeah.
doing it for a while, been on, different teams, and, hey, the show keeps going. So I would say right now he's at the top of my list, but there's a bunch of great talented guys in the league right now who are doing, really well.
Yeah, Derrick Henry is an absolute thrill to watch, right? He's kind of that power back and speed back all in one, just an absolute monster of a human being. Unfortunately for me as a Bills fan, we have to face him now, when he is on the Ravens. Bills play the Ravens week 1. Not looking forward to that because Derrick Henry just absolutely shits on our defense every single year. But we'll see what happens in the future. Let's switch back to your days with the Bills. I wanted to ask you a little bit about training camp because training camp's coming up. I know, St. John Fishers, I believe, that's where you went with the Bills as well. They've been
Mhm.
doing that for a long time. How was the atmosphere there? I know Bills fans show up big. Even during the drought eras, Bills fans would sell that place out. How is the atmosphere there? How is the food there? I know there's been a lot of controversy and talks about Pittsburgh dairy and some of the turkey burgers they got there and all that. How was training camp with the Bills? And also, the Bills are going to be on Hard Knocks this year. So let me know how you would feel about cameras being in your face, along with all that added pressure during training camp.
Yeah, St. John Fisher was a great place for me. Great memories there. I remember, just showing up there and, getting the mindset, hey, this is it, time to compete, and earn that roster spot. I don't know if people know, but only a few handful of guys on the team actually have roster spots, going into training camp. Everyone else is competing and fighting for a job, whether it's with that organization or another. But yeah, man, the staff at St. John Fisher was really good. I had no problems. We stayed in the dorms. The accommodations were good enough for me. I mean, we were busy with meetings and practice and training room and things like that. So I never had any problems there. I never heard any of the guys have any problems there. So yeah, it was a great experience. Good place for me to just mentally focus in and do what I need to do. As far as Hard Knocks, man, it's a great opportunity for the guys to again, showcase their talents, because if they don't make it with the Bills, they can show up for another organization. Again, I'm pretty sure, Hard Knocks will be on, the top guys, Josh Allen, the guys like that. So, for the other guys, won't be probably too much of a change. But yeah, great opportunity for the whole organization and individual players who, are able to showcase their talents if needed, to try out for other teams.
Yeah, and I mean the Bills the last couple years especially have just been super professional. Like I'm not even worried about Hard Knocks that much because I know a lot of fans have been DMing our account and stuff, and they're all worried. Oh, hopefully no one makes a
Mhm.
fool out of us. Hopefully no one has anger issues. Then you get these narratives, these rumors. But this team is professional from the top to bottom. They've been a winning team, and I'm pretty excited to see. We got a lot of goofballs on this team as well. Deion Dawkins being one of those guys who I'm just like super excited to see. One more thing about the Bills, James Cook is not holding out, but he wants a new contract and may not play this year. Again, it's been kind of a battle all offseason. How much have you watched James Cook? And in your opinion, should the Bills pay James Cook a big contract, or should they kind of keep doing the same thing they've been doing, where they draft a new rookie running back, let him play a couple years, and then move on to a new young guy?
Yeah, I'm biased as a player and a running back, former running back. I would love to see the guys get paid, and I would love to see the organizations take care of the guys who, put out and put on for them. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and I think after a while, as a player, you understand the business side of things. It really sucks. So hopefully, they can come to an agreement on somewhere in the middle, because he is a great talent as well. He's done great things for them, not only running but passing. He's been a safety net for Josh Allen, over the handful of past years. So, hopefully, they can come to an agreement and this thing could, get done, and they could worry about winning games.
Yeah, I'm right on board with you. If they can meet in the middle again, last year in that game against the Chiefs in the playoffs, that play Cook made extending for the end zone, that's going to be a forgotten play because the Bills don't win the game yet again against the Chiefs. But that was one of my favorite plays this season. I want to bring up something that you are working on right now. Like you said, it's a very stressful time. Going to training camps again. You were drafted by Pittsburgh, spent some time with the Chargers, then with Buffalo. Bounced around a little bit. Very stressful in training camp. You are starting a new movement, starting a new kind of mentorship group. If you want to expand on that a little bit, and how that can help out, and raise awareness for men's health.
Yeah, so actually, I just graduated from UNLV with my master's in marriage and family therapy. So I am now an MFT therapist, specializing, in athletes and, specifically, obviously all areas of life, but athletes and men's are a, particular interest of mine. And so with that, recently just getting licensed and everything, I started a men's group. It's an 8-week men's group we do here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's been a really great turnout. We meet once a week for about an hour and a half. Actually, last week we ended up going closer to 2 hours just because the conversation and dialogue was so good. But yeah, I just want to be able to give back and help out in any way that I can. Obviously, having the life experiences is one thing, but now having, the knowledge and the education behind it helps take to an even further level. So, yeah, for anyone who wants to reach out to me, feel free to. I do Zoom as well as in person. I assume not a lot of people on here are probably living in Vegas though. But
Yeah.
yeah, reach out to me with any questions or concerns, and we can go from there. But yeah, man, mental health for me has been a huge thing. Obviously, being a former NFL player, a lot of guys struggling with transitioning into life after football. I've seen it. I've actually dealt with it. And so, just being able to approach that area and tackle that area and help others really has been a warm spot in my life for me. So I'm very excited about this new journey and chapter in my life, and I really look forward to it.
Yeah, first things first, congratulations on graduating and getting that degree again. As someone who's in college, we're close, but still working on it. And men's health is one of the most overlooked things, I would say, in, just life right now. Again, athletes going through life, trying to find, kind of that second life, right? And we talk to a lot of former players, and it's always kind of like, okay, now I have a whole second life and I got to figure out what's going on. And especially
Yeah.
guys who, played a while ago when the salaries weren't exactly what they are now. In Buffalo, we have a professional lacrosse team, the Bandits, too. They don't get paid a whole lot of money, but, their bodies are absolutely tormented, kind of similar to how they would be in the NFL. Similar stuff there where you kind of got to find a second life after it. And it is really hard.
Hmm.
Again, with the brain injuries, too. I know you said the game softened up a little bit. What would you like to see with the helmets? I know there's been some talk about maybe mandating the Guardian cap in the future. Are you not a fan of that because you like the heavy hitting, or do you kind of think that's necessary because of all the brain injuries?
Yeah, I have no experience with the Guardian cap, honestly, so I can't really speak on it. I don't know if it helps or doesn't help. I don't know the science and studies behind it. But I think, obviously trying to make the game healthier and a safer place is always something you want to do. But at what point is it no longer the game that we're playing? And that's always my question. At what point is it no longer football?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a fine line. I would say that I think everyone who signs up to play knows what they're getting into. At the end of the day, we're playing in Pop Warner, we're playing in high school. Well, we were playing in high school and college, not getting paid. But with
Yeah.
NIL now, that's changed. So, but when you're playing in Pop Warner, man, you're doing it for the love of the game. You're not doing it because you're thinking about um, you know the fame and fortune that you can acquire maybe once you get older and make it to that level. So I'm pretty sure a lot of guys would still consider playing football for free. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I would just say, there's a fine line in, changing the game for the better, rather than just changing it just because. Because again, getting back to my whole point was, guys are playing football because they love the game. They know what they're signing up to do. You know what I mean? They wouldn't change it because you can get hurt in life doing anything. You can get hurt in a
Yeah.
car accident. You can fall off a curb. I mean, people get hurt doing all kind of things. I'm pretty sure the majority of the guys would say, "Hey, if something's gonna happen, I'd rather doing something I love and I'm passionate about, and I'm making great money doing." That's my take
Yeah.
on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. My feed was cutting up a little bit there, but I got to bring up the flag football too. That's been in the Olympics. Opinions on that? I mean, is that even going to be worth watching? I'm someone who, right now doesn't really plan to watch it. I know they are going to let NFL players play in it, but flag football, I mean, how do we feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. The
Yeah.
Olympics are world sports. I believe football is only really in America. It's the only
Yeah.
true competitive place. So I mean, we're pretty much giving silver, bronze, and gold to Americans. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but teach their own.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's something that I really wish because you see some of these tournaments overseas, right? And it's like, oh, Spain beat America in football, and it's some nonsense version of football where it's high school athletes from the United States
Correct.
playing against grown men over there. It's an absolute joke. I have to mention this. My buddy Connor from school, we were talking about the tush push. He sent a text in the group chat, word for word. He said, "If all hope fails, sign Frank Summers back, and I'll put my life on it that he gets at least 2 yards per carry." I had to say that for him. Do
Definitely,
you think?
definitely, you get that.
Yeah, two
Definitely
yards
get
per
that.
carry, easy. I'd sign up for it as well. Other sports. What other sports do you watch? Not necessarily religiously, but are you into?
So I'm a huge fan of hockey, ice hockey. I'm a huge fan of rugby. I
Okay.
enjoy track and field. I'm an all-around sports guy. I mean, I grew up playing all sports. I currently play ice hockey Tuesday, Thursday nights, men's, beer league. Played rugby for a while. So I'm all around athlete. I love them all.
That is awesome. My buddy Don, who is on here, he plays some beer league hockey as well. Used to play pretty competitively, but doesn't anymore. I'm more of a street hockey guy myself. Scored 21 goals in one game, but never touched the ice.
Nice.
If you keep up with hockey, you probably know the Sabres are in a 14-year playoff drought. So we're having one of the roughest times. But Florida,
Hmm.
heck of a team, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Did you watch any of that series against the Oilers?
I did. I did. I did. I was actually hoping the Oilers pulled it out.
Yeah. Uh, I again, as a Sabres fan, we kind of have this mini rivalry with the Panthers, but also the big joke is Canada cannot win a Stanley Cup, right? They haven't won one. I think an American team won the CFL trophy, the Grey Cup, more recently than a Canadian team winning
Hmm.
the Stanley Cup, which for me is hilarious. But
Yeah.
also it is, kind of, sad at the same time. Eventually, a Canadian team has to win it. Speaking of the CFL, I want to get your opinions on some of these other leagues, the UFL, the CFL, the XFL when it was back on. Do you watch those leagues as well, or just kind of an NFL college guy?
Yeah, I watch them a little bit. I watch them as they're on. I would say, the thing about the NFL is it's a one of one. You know what I mean? There's nothing ever going to
Yeah,
be like it. All the guys who play in other leagues hope to one day get in the NFL. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
always tell people, basketball players have it so much easier than football players because you can go anywhere else in the world and play not only competitively, but get compensated financially much better as well. You know what I mean? The NBA has league, they have, obviously the D League, but then you can go to China, you can go to, all these places around the
Europe.
world and play basketball. Football is only football here in America. The next biggest thing is the CFL, which I don't think the pay is, anywhere near NFL pay. But then you have the XFL, and their pay is not competitive either. So again, you got all two or three other leagues that are trying to get back into one league. But yeah, man, I mean, again, it's a great opportunity for the guys to get film, still work on their craft, sharpen their iron, and try to get to the NFL, or for some people, try and get back to the NFL.
Yeah, I think that's the only cool thing for me is watching these bigger names that were in the NFL go back there, or watching some of the top stars from the UFL. All of a sudden in training camp, they find an NFL team and they shine in preseason. It's like, oh, I remember watching that guy, for
Yeah.
the 5 minutes I had it on TV. But again, I'm just like you. When it's on, I'll turn it on a little bit to just fill my need for football. But not so much. We had breaking NBA news a couple minutes ago. I don't know if you keep up with the NBA too much, but Kevin Durant just got traded. That guy has been moving around from team to team to team. The MLB is in full effect as well. But I want to end off with a little bit more football talk. Again, you went to UNLV for 2 years, your last 2 years of college there, 14 total touchdowns. Tell me a little bit about playing at UNLV. I know right now they play in the Las Vegas Raiders stadium. Back then,
Hmm.
that was not built. So fill me in a little bit on how life was there.
Yeah, man. So actually, a little short background. I went to Cal Berkeley at first before I
Hmm.
went to UNLV. So I went to Cal. I had Marshawn Lynch in my running back room. It was me, him, and a couple other guys. I think everybody in our running back room at Cal went to the NFL. I know it was me, Justin Forsett, JJ
Okay.
Arrington, Marshawn Lynch. We all were drafted. And then we had two or three other guys who got free agent opportunities. So we had a really good running back
Yeah.
room at Cal while I was there. And then, yeah, I went here to UNLV. When I was at Cal, I was playing strictly fullback. Came here to UNLV, played strictly running back. My first year here, I led the team in receiving touchdowns and rushing touchdowns. Great opportunity for me to come carry the ball. And, the coaching staff was really good. Not too far away from home, about an hour flight from Las Vegas to Oakland, where I'm from. And yeah, man, it was a great opportunity here. Great, great, great staff, great teammates. We had just started winning a little bit. We didn't get to a bowl game. I believe we were one game away from going to a bowl game. But yeah, man, we were playing out at I forget the name of the field, but it's back before. Yeah, obviously they had Allegiant Stadium
Yeah.
outside in the turf. Uh, Home games will be at night due to the fact that it's 115 degrees most Saturdays here. And yeah, man, I had a great time here. It was a great opportunity. Wouldn't change anything in the world, for being here. But I've actually made my, life here in Las Vegas. I love the city so much, and things are going well.
Yeah, I know you mentioned about the men's health group. Some of us might not be from Las Vegas, but there are actually a lot of Bills fans in Nevada, not necessarily Las Vegas, but around.
Hmm.
I don't know if you see any in Henderson or around that area, but I know there is a strong Bills population in Nevada, also in Florida. But those are kind of the two hotspots for Bills fans. So maybe
Yep,
you'll see some out there. I know.
yep.
Were you an Oakland A's fan growing up?
I was. I went to the Oakland A's games. Yep, Oakland A's, Oakland Raiders, fans of
Yeah.
both.
So yeah, the Coliseum, of course, the football field on the baseball field. That was always a fun look towards the start of football season in September. Sometimes a little bit after that. Are you still a Raiders fan, or are you more of just a league wide fan at this point?
I'm a Raiders fan, although not the happiest fan right now, but I'm a
Yeah.
Raiders fan. And then obviously, I cheer for the Bills. They're second up. I still follow the Steelers, and then depending on what guys are on what teams, then I'll kind of cheer for guys like that.
Yeah, for sure. I got to get last question I'm going to ask you. Super Bowl champion this upcoming season. Who do you got winning it? Who do you got losing it?
It's really hard to say, man. Unfortunately, you got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes out in
Yeah.
Kansas City. I would honestly say they're probably the new Tom Brady, Bill Belichick duo right now.
Mhm.
Really hard to bet against them. Doesn't mean they can't be beaten, but it's
Mhm.
really hard to bet against them, because they just have a. I was saying the other day that, they really have a system. They plug and go.
Yeah.
They're winning games, and you're like, who are these people they're winning with? And it's
Yeah.
like, it really doesn't matter because they have a system, and that's what happens when you have a system. You just plug people in and you continuously go, and everything's on par. So obviously, I got to put them somewhere in the mix, whether it's losing or winning.
Yep.
And then, I'd love to see Buffalo get over the hump. I'd love to see the Ravens get over the hump. One of those two teams. Obviously, we're going to have a new NBA champion here today. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I would like to see that happen in the NFL. The same way we have two teams in, the finals for the NBA, haven't been there. One team's going to be crowned a champion. I'd like to see that in the NFL.
Well, you bring it up. I guess I'll ask you one more then because we do have game 7 tonight. OKC versus the Pacers. Who do you got winning?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Pacers.
Okay. I like the pick. I'm a Knicks fan, so that one hurts a little bit. I don't know
Yeah.
what voodoo magic they got going over there in Indiana. It just drives me nuts. I fully expected the Thunder to sweep them, but shout out to the Pacers. If they win, that is awesome. Frank, thank you for joining me today. It was an honor. Again, former NFL veteran and former Buffalo Bill. All of your information, your socials, and also a link to your men's mental health group and all that stuff will be in the description of this video, and we will also make an Instagram post about it. Thank you for joining and have a great rest of your day.
All good, my man. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Yeah, peace out.